We're going to talk about something called metabolic syndrome. I know that sounds like complicated medical jargon, but I promise I'm going to break this down into simple and practical terms that actually make sense. You can think of metabolic syndrome as a warning sign from your body. It's not one single disease, but it's a group of health issues that tend to show up together. And when they do, they tell you that your risk for serious health problems down the road has gone up significantly and that we need to do something about it. If you're wondering who I am Dr. Miriam. I am board certified in family medicine as well as obesity medicine. All right, let's get started. How do we diagnose metabolic syndrome? Metabolic syndrome is diagnosed when at least 3 out of 5 specific health markers fall outside of the normal range. Let me walk you through them one by one. First, we look at waist size. For men, we're concerned when the waist size is over 40 inches, and for women, it's when it's over 35 inches. This isn't about appearance or vanity, it's actually about where fat is stored. Fat around the belly, also known as visceral fat, is actually more metabolically active than other types of fat found elsewhere. Visceral fat actually releases inflammatory substances that affect the entire body. Second, we look at triglycerides, which are a type of fat in the blood. A level of 150 or higher counts as one marker. Third is HDL cholesterol, which is oftentimes referred to as the good cholesterol. For men, we're concerned when it's below 40, and for women, we're concerned when it's below 50. The reason why is because HDL is protective. It sort of acts like a scavenger, removing bad cholesterol from the bloodstream and the arteries. This actually helps reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke. Fourth is blood pressure. A reading over 130/85 or higher, or being on a blood pressure medication, that counts as another marker. And finally, we look at blood sugar. A fasting blood sugar of 100 or higher, or being on a diabetes medication, is the fifth mark. So just to summarize, if you have 3 or more of these 5 markers, that meets the criteria for metabolic syndrome. So why do we care so much about metabolic syndrome? The reason is because people who have this are twice as likely to develop heart disease or have a stroke in the next 5 to 10 years. They're also 5 times more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. So we're talking about really serious conditions here like heart attacks, stroke, diabetes, and kidney disease. These are conditions that can significantly affect quality of life as well as longevity, or how many years you live. But here's the key part. Metabolic syndrome is reversible, and this is where it becomes empowering. You may be wondering why these 5 things tend to cluster together, and it really has to do with how the body processes energy and stores fat. When there's excess fat around the belly, also known as our visceral fat here, that fat doesn't just sit there. It releases inflammatory signals that interfere with insulin, or the hormone that's responsible for controlling blood sugar. This leads to something called insulin resistance. As insulin resistance worsens, blood sugar rises, blood pressure increases, and cholesterol patterns worsen. Metabolic syndrome can sound like this really scary thing, but this is the part I really want you to hear. The most effective treatment for metabolic syndrome is lifestyle changes. And no, you don't need perfection. We'll talk about what actually works. Number 1 is weight loss, and it does not have to be a lot. I always tell my patients that even 5 to 10% weight loss can significantly improve all markers of metabolic syndrome. So for example, if you weigh 200 pounds, that's about 10 to 20 pounds. This basically means that you do not need to reach an ideal body weight for meaningful health changes to happen. And when I tell patients that, they find it very comforting to know that sometimes it doesn't have to be this grand thing that leads to significant changes. Number 2 is diet changes, and here we're talking about quality over restriction. There are so many different diets to choose from, but the 2 most evidence-based diets for metabolic syndrome are the Mediterranean diet as well as the DASH diet. DASH diet here stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. And I'll provide a summary of what these 2 diets are in the video description below. But in practical terms, this really means eating more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, fish, and nuts, using fat sources like olive oil, and eating less red meat, processed foods, and added sugars. Cutting back on sugary drinks is especially helpful here because those things are just loaded with sugar. And just keep in mind that you don't need extreme restriction here. It's better to focus on food quality as well as portion awareness. Perfection is not the goal here, but rather finding a routine that works. Exercise is incredibly powerful when it comes to metabolic syndrome, even if you don't lose much weight. We know that regular exercise reduces visceral belly fat, which is the fat that we don't want. It also improves insulin sensitivity, even when the scale doesn't change much. So if weight loss feels slow, know that your body is still getting healthier on the inside. All right, so let's put this all together. We can think of managing metabolic syndrome like a three-legged stool: healthy eating, regular physical activity, and gradual weight loss. All three matter. The most important thing is to start small. So this can include things like going for short walks after dinner, replacing sugary drinks with water, which I know is a really tough one for my patients, or even just adding one extra serving of vegetables per day. These small changes really do add up over time and help you build a lifestyle that works for you. So just to summarize, we know that metabolic syndrome is serious, but it's also a wake-up call, one that gives you a chance to change course before more serious disease develops. Lifestyle changes like the ones we discussed can reduce your risk of heart disease by up to 50% and reduce your diabetes risk by nearly 60%. I hope this video has helped you realize that you have a lot of control over your health and that it's never too late. So work with your healthcare team, set realistic goals, and keep in mind it's progress, not perfection. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and as always, I will see you in the next video.